Hello YouTube, this is Zach, and today I'm going to be looking at another auto performance because I'm just chomping at the bit to keep watching this auto material, so I'm trying to make videos about her somewhat frequently so I can see more of this stuff. Before I get started, I want to just address this because it's still a point of contention in my comments. I'm not Japanese, so I don't really understand Japanese culture. I only know what you guys tell me. I when I make comparisons of singers, like in some other videos, I compared Otto to Mike Patton. I said that she was like the female Mike Patton. That's not an insult, and it's not me saying that she sings like him. I make these comparisons so that people who listen to this music and enjoy it might be able to find other singers that have a similar vocal approach or vocal methods or kind of vocal versatility or similar timbre or range or whatever. I don't make the comparisons to say that Otto is like Mike Patton in what she does. I don't mean that at all. I know that this is kind of prefacing this video a bit. I don't mean to come across that way. I just listen to singers and their technique, and that's my job. That's my job. I'm a teacher, you know. So when I listen to singers for their technique, if I hear a singer that goes, "Oh yeah, the person uses methods of vocal production that remind me of another singer," I'm going to say that. But it's not me saying Otto is a similar artist to Mike Patton and Mr. Bungle and all those kinds of things. I just make these comparisons so that the fans might have other people to listen to. Like, my favorite prog metal band is Pain of Salvation, and if someone says, "Hey, that band reminds me of Pain of Salvation," I'm gonna go, "Huh? That sounds cool. Who are they? Tell me about it," right? You know, so it's not about me trying to say that Otto is inferior to the person that created before her or whatever. It's not that at all. I'm just trying to say, hey, if you like Otto's music, you really should check out Mike Patton's music. You really should check out Mr. Bungle because you'll probably enjoy that too. Anyway, that all aside, this is Aishite. Of course, I'm going to do my best to analyze this, but I have failed miserably at analyzing Otto's vocal performances because they're just so wild and zany and outside the realm of my classical stuff. So I'll explain what I can, but for the most part, I'm just going to enjoy the ride and have fun with it. Here we go. Nice dynamics. Good legato. It's nice. Okay, I'm gonna stop for a second. It's 45 seconds and that's enough. The thing about, like, since I'm reacting here, like in my old videos, I would watch the videos first and I would pick out the things I wanted to talk about. So when I do reacting now, I have to like parse this stuff really quickly. And so I have this rush of thoughts in my head and I have to quickly decide like what's most important here. So these might be some strange observations. So I'm going to just throw them out there. The first thing is that her dynamic control in this little section is exceptional because you hear, like, she goes that really high, like rough, edgy thing, and it just goes right down to back down to this really soft, gentle, delicate thing. Huge dynamic contrast from this like fortissimo sound to something that's pianissimo, just at the drop of a hat, like split second. And so that is an indicator of very good control of the voice. When your volume levels are higher, the subglottal air pressure coming from underneath the vocal folds is going to be higher, and whenever you drop down to a lower dynamic, you have to release a lot of that pressure, but it's really hard to keep consistent intonation, making these big intervallic jumps and keep the vocal folds closed enough to make a consistent sound. It's very similar to if you're driving your car, you press your accelerator down, pressing really hard, and then you just let off and slam on the brakes, right? Well, your car's going to do this thing. Well, the voice kind of does that too. If you've got this really consistent, powerful air pressure coming from underneath at the glottis where the vocal folds touch, causing the folds to close, and you got the muscles pressed really hard, causing those vocal folds to be very stable to make that big loud sound, and then all of a sudden the air pressure just drops and it gets really soft. That is a huge adjustment that the body has to make physically. And so there are elements of the laws of physics involved, which are like the Bernoulli effect and stuff like that. And we're not going to go into that right now. Maybe, I've talked about it on my streams and stuff before, but maybe that's for another day. But there are physical things going on that require massive, quick changes. I'm talking like 50 milliseconds or less amount of time for the brain to make these massive adjustments, to make these big dynamic changes like that. So that is a remarkable skill to have in and of itself. The other thing that I wanted to point out, this is going to be the kind of unusual observation, is, you know, when I listen to a singer, I have to, since I can't see her, you know, I have to do way more like listening deep into the sound. And one thing that you can always kind of tell about a singer, if you listen to the pitch of their breath, you can kind of hear how the breath management is occurring. So for example, I don't know how well this microphone is going to pick this up, but if I take a really shallow, high, quick breath, it sounds very panty, very light. But when I get a low, full diaphragmatic transversus abdominis, like low engaged breath, listen to this. You can hear it like it's deeper sounding. The pitch of the breath is deeper. And one thing that I noticed, I don't know if I can get the exact timestamp or not, but there's a point where she doesn't have very much time, but you hear this really nice, low pitched breath, showing that she does a really good job of getting a lot of air in when she breathes, that doesn't just get shallow and top heavy. Like by top heavy breathing, I mean like breathing that does not allow the diaphragm to expand downward, that doesn't engage the transversus abdominis fully. The diaphragm doesn't fully lower, the lungs don't get completely full, and so you don't get as much pressure to allow the air to come back out when you sing. So I'm going to take a shot in the dark here and try to find it, so give me a second. I'll find it. Maybe it's here. Yeah, right there. You hear that huge breath. I'll start right on it. Right there. Like, that's a huge diaphragmatic breath. Huge. Like, and the thing is, when you sing, you don't really want to have 100% full lung capacity when you breathe in. You don't need that, because if you have too much air, your body kind of has diminishing returns on all the pressure that's created in the diaphragm and the vacuum that pulls the air in. But if you get a nice full diaphragmatic breath, you're probably going to fill up to like 80 to 85% of your lung capacity. When you speak, you don't need that much air, but when you sing, you definitely do, because of the constant changing of pitches and pressures that the body has to, you know, conduct and manage as you sing. So when I hear that big loud breath, I hear a couple of traits from it. One, the diaphragm is clearly engaging and is lowering a lot to where the lungs are getting nice and full, and you have a good stable engagement underneath the lungs. And another thing is I can hear that she's breathing through her mouth. And that's important. You know, we singers should be mouth breathers, right? The reason that I say that is it's very simple. If you breathe through your nose, which is fine if you have plenty of time, but when you're singing, you don't have a lot of time. Well, your nostrils are like that big, right? Well, your mouth is really big, so you can take in a lot of air a lot faster. So I always teach my students, breathe through your mouth. You know, you should breathe through your mouth. You should feel cold air on the back of your throat. You know, you should feel the rush of air in the mouth. Some people can do both. Some people can breathe into the nose and the mouth. If you can make that work for you, be my guest. But it's definitely going to be a lot harder to get a full breath to be able to sing the entirety of a phrase in the amount of time she had by using your nose. Listen to how quickly she had to breathe here. I'm going to go back a few frames again, and listen to how quick the breath from when she stopped singing. Right there. So boom, she had like a second, right? So you got 1 second. One. It's like I'm breathing through my nose. There's no way I can get enough air, but one, boom, I got that full breath in. So that is an example of hearing very, very good breath management. The fact that she was able to take in that much air. She's using the proper mechanism, because you can hear the proper pitch of the breath when she breathes in, and you could tell that the amount of air coming in means that she's breathing in through her mouth and not through her nose. So I know, really nerdy, really in depth, but you know, like I said, I can't see her face, so I'm having to like listen into the sound a little bit more rather than basing my judgments and my thoughts on what I see and what I hear. So yeah, sorry guys, I'm a nerd, I can't help it. Real quick, I hope you're enjoying this video, and if you are, please give it a like and subscribe. That will help me so much. Also, I do offer voice instruction. I am a professional singing teacher, and I offer voice instruction through my Discord server, so I highly encourage you to join. That's where my entire community is. That's where all my students are. We do weekly vocal workshops. I do free vocal assessments for all incoming students, and it's just a really good place to be. I also do offer a Patreon if you want to kind of get a little bit more of a bird's eye view on the things I do, get early access to the videos and things like that. But yeah, please join my Discord server. I'd love to see you there. Hope you enjoy the video. Cool modulation. A beautiful melody. I say it's a beautiful melody. I say a beautiful melody, then I hear Like that's one thing that I think I really like about Otto is that her music is this constant tightrope of beauty and like ugliness, but not like ugly as in ew ugly, but this like there's this constant back and forth between this elegant singing, there's this elegant beauty and style and refinement, then there's just this like raucous, like just I love that about her music. There's this constant back and forth, and you never really know what you're gonna get. The second that I say the melody's beautiful, it just gets ripped to shreds, right? Kind of subverts your expectations. I love that about this music. Don't do that at home, kids. That either. Yeah, leave that kind of stuff to the phenoms. This is great. I love this song. That's cool. All right, I might show my ignorance here a little bit. So I don't know a lot about production. My buddy John does. He's starting a YouTube channel, John Share Music. Check it out. He's a professional producer. He's been on shows like Stephen Colbert, and he's produced for some huge name singers and stuff. And so he knows a lot about this kind of thing. So I might be talking out of ignorance here since I don't know about production and I don't know how much this performance is post-produced. But what I hear that I think is really, good, really remarkable is how consistent her volume is despite all the moving around and shifting. Like, if I go down here and I'm moving around like this, I can feel to keep my voice constant and consistent. Even just like speaking, there's these changes that are occurring, and if I just kind of lean into it, my voice will kind of go along with it. So the fact that she's able to keep these consistent volumes and not let all of these sporadic body movements change the quality of the sound. You don't hear any jittering or jagged lines or anything like that. The legato, the fluidity of the line is still there. I don't know how she's doing it, but it's a remarkable amount of control. And I mean, it's possible that there's some post-production that's making the volume levels even out, but even if there is, you still don't hear any effect on her pitch. You don't hear any effect on the stability of her line at all when she's moving around like that. And I just don't know. I'm not comparing. I'm saying that there's another singer, and I've talked about before, Maynard James Keenan, who does those kinds of like body motions in his concerts, or he did years ago. He doesn't do it so much now, but he did that stuff, and his voice would stay super consistent too. And I've never understood that. When I saw Tool live the first time, I think it was 2006 or 2007, the first time I saw them, I remember he just started doing this like thing, and like his voice was just completely stable. And Otto does the same kind of technique here, and I don't know how these people do it, but it's insane. I mean, it's crazy stuff. Like, how? How do you do this? How does she keep a consistent tone and consistent intonation or being in tune when it's that breathy? I can't sing like that. Everything is out of control. I can't do that. I mean, I've been singing for 30 years, and I can't be breathy and keep things consistent. Like, I don't, and this is where, as much as I do know about the voice, and for as long as I've been teaching, and as many people as I've worked with, I have limitations and gaps in my own knowledge. And usually these limitations come in whenever I deal with outliers, these people that just do things that just are not common. When I teach the bell curve. I teach assuming that most people are going to fit within a certain like middle ground of the voice. That's not a bad thing. You could be an average baseline level singer and become a great one through working at it. You just don't see many people that can do this. I've worked at 2 music schools before I became completely freelance. The first music school I worked at, I remember a young girl that I was teaching. I think she was like 12 or 13. I don't even remember her name now. It's been 12 years ago. I can't remember her name. But her parents told me, like, our daughter has a pretty unique voice. And I remember I thought, okay, we'll see. Every parent thinks their kid's like the next star, right? And I remember working with this kid, and she was a 12-year-old girl, and she was down in the 2nd octave and could sing a whistle voice at 12 years old. Now, I don't mean she's in her 20s now, so I haven't heard from her in over a decade, so I don't know where she's at now, but I remember thinking back then, like, this is uncanny. All the way throughout my years in college, I never ran into a singer out of the entire music department. All the 7 years I was there, I met hundreds of other peers and students. Nobody had a range like this. And so, like, when you start talking about singers like Otto that can do all these things, you have to understand that comparing yourself to them is really not a good idea. And you have to understand that the things they're doing defy so many conventions that just modern education and pedagogy, things that we just can't explain. We can't. Otto is 1 in a billion. There just aren't many people who can do this. And so my bigger point here is that when I watch Otto's content, I can recognize as a vocal professional that this is an elite, like, uncanny talent. And this is a singer that is a generational type thing. You just don't run into singers that do this, and any style, any genre. So that's really why my education on her singing is so limited, because she just defies all of the teaching. You don't go to college and go to vocal pedagogy class and study, the voice. You don't go to voice studio classes for years and learn about this. You just don't, because this is just not practical in the sense of most people can't do it. Anyway, I'll move on, but I hope you get my point. I'm not just trying to drown Otto with praise, but I want you all to understand, like, there are tons of videos out there where you can see people being shocked and blown away by this. But I'm trying to give you all some perspective from the perspective of someone who has taught hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people for well over a decade, why it kind of defies logic, and it doesn't really fit into any kind of paradigm that is teachable. I hope that makes some sense. I mean, I'm sorry to keep stopping it, but like, just watch from this angle, okay? Watch those body motions. The microphone, she keeps it a pretty consistent distance from her mouth, but listen to how stable the sound is. Even though it's crazy and all over the place, listen to how stable it is. And she's moving through multiple registers. The range is at least an octave through all of that, and she's moving her body around, and it's completely stable. Like that, you just can't teach that. You can't teach that. That's just talent and hard work. That's acknowledging that you have a talent and developing it. I could give pointers on breath management and stability, but like, she's even breaking all the norms of lifting your legs off the ground. Like when you talk about classical music and opera and stuff like that, you typically want to stay grounded so that your body can be stable. But look at this. She's lifting her legs off the ground. She's dancing. Like, I mean, this is just uncanny stuff, man. This is just crazy. Yeah, I mean, Oh, that's that little note. That note was so. Wow. My goodness. My goodness. That last note was so like slightly out of tune deliberately to make your ear kind of curl a little. Oh, that's so good. I was just gonna I wanted to stop it, but I just had to watch the end of this because it was so good. Like I mean, come on. Like I would never. I'm a big dude. Like I would never. Where is it at? Where is this? I don't want to go too far. I guess I did. I would never even begin. Yeah, here it is. I would never begin to make a fool out of myself trying to do that. I can't bend like that, much less sing. Like, so what's notable about this is if you look, like, this is where the throat is, right? So to put your head back like that, I've got to keep my headset on. I got to hold it. When you put your head back like that, your larynx right here is going to stretch upward. It stretches up, and the skin around the larynx gets really tight. So the motion of it, it becomes very rigid. And so the more rigid the larynx is, the harder it is to change pitches and to sing, because the larynx motion is a big part of what changes the timbre and the quality of the sound. So when she's tilted back like that and the larynx is so stiff, the fact that she's making these changing pitch in the first place, but doing these almost devilish noises at these such high pitches, I mean, this is crazy, man. Like, I don't even know. I guess if there's anything that being online has shown me, you know, being a YouTuber and seeing all these different singers, is that there is a world of vocalization that academia just cannot explain. No matter what people try to say about, oh, this is false fold, blah, 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 blah. Most of that stuff is understudied, and we don't know as much about that as some of these experts will claim that they do. The real science, the actual papers and the studies show that everyone's, yeah, there's a little bit of an understanding of this stuff, but a lot of people don't know as much about it as they claim to. And so up to this point, a lot of these noises and sounds are misunderstood or not understood at all, understudied. We're working on it. The University of Utah, you know, the Vocology Institute with Ingo Tietze and Amanda Stark, they're doing a lot of work on this right now. But like, there's a lot of this stuff that we have no idea about. And so, you know, there's just no education for this. And so it breaks all the rules. It defies all the logic. It's incredible. Otto has very quickly jumped up the rungs of the ladder, in my mind, of some of the best singers of the modern era. I think she is a tremendous vocal talent. And I love the music. The music's always so good. Her vocal versatility and her skill is unmatched. I don't even know what genre you'd call this. I mean, it's just kind of its own thing. But for whatever space she fits into musically, she is as good at it as it gets. So, yeah, I mean, I hope that you learned something from this. Again, my auto videos, I never feel like they're as educational as some of my other ones, because I'm kind of just as dumbfounded as a lot of you are. I'm kind of a fan watching more than I am like a teacher. So I hope that this is somewhat educational. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed my rambling about it, and I will do more auto videos very soon. Thank you guys. Bye.